What's good, guys? Today we are back with another video and we're going to be exploring an increasingly popular direct-to-consumer business model. We're going to look at the trends, we're going to look at some of the problems and hurdles that people face, we're going to look at some of the largest companies that are increasing their direct-to-consumer share, and we want to know why. We want to understand why. If you don't know who I am already, I'm Keenan and I'm the founder of a growth consultancy, and we help businesses facilitate this process because it can be complex. Today we're going to look at the numbers, we're going to look at the case studies, the reports, all of it. So you're going to want to stick around, and if the direct consumer model is something that you're toying with, or maybe you need help, or maybe the split is not what you want it to be, this video is going to be important. Because it's not just about, direct consumer versus B2B. It's about the percentages. It's about how you're navigating both. It's about incorporating both and then working together. So defining direct to consumer and B2B. Direct to consumer is essentially where products sell directly to the end consumer, removing intermediaries, wholesalers, retailers. This contrasts to the B2B model where they sell to other businesses which then sell to the end consumer. So in essence, you have a lot more control and less restriction because you're not, being prohibited by intermediaries, wholesalers, retailers, and distributors, which also in essence means the margins, what you guys care about most. So for many of you, this is nothing new, and elements of your business will be diversified, but as I mentioned in the beginning, it's about the percentage, it's about the split, and also it's about how it can work in harmony, because you may be choosing to have a B2B model for awareness. You may be in big retailers that can get you exposure that is going to be a lot more difficult by yourself. However, how can these work together? How can you get that initial exposure via your B2B models, and how can that tie into your direct-to-consumer relationship? We're going to talk about all of it today, so stick with me. Why? Why is it on the rise? Why is the direct-to-consumer model growing so much? So it's seen a significant rise recently, driven by changes in consumer behaviors and what I believe to be pandemic-induced acceleration of online shopping. So what do I mean by changes in consumer behavior? Customers are seeking a more personalized experience and they want to have transparency. So when we're talking about, the ethics of the product, the heritage, this can be translated a lot easier directly from you, the person, the owners, the people that understand the brand more than intermediary. The advent of technology. C19, whether we like it or not, has accelerated this process. People being in their houses, it's had to shift certain things online. So with the advent of technology, it's easier to reach customers more directly. So we've got a change in actually the consumer sentiment, but we've also got a change in the technology. And this is extremely important because when you have a change in consumer sentiment in terms of how they're used to perceiving things and the level of personalization and the attention to detail that the customers want, the technology has to catch up, and then there's a cycle. So we've got brands like Warby Parker, Nike, Casper, they've ridden the wave successfully, and growth isn't limited to them. We've got many other brands that we're going to talk about. We've got Dollar Shave Club. If you're not familiar with them, Dollar Shave Club, they built an entire business around razors and grooming products. Simple, daily things that we use, but who would think that this would be, $1 billion valuation that they ended up selling to Unilever in the end. So if you're unfamiliar with the story, they basically completely disrupted the razor market. They offered affordable, convenient shaving products throughout a subscription model. So what they were able to do is tap into consumer frustrations with higher priced razors and the inconvenience of having to go to a store to purchase every time. Now this is something that you're going to use on a consistent basis. How convenient would it be if it's delivered right to your doorstep? They were able to tap into that, again, understanding the customer, and also they're able to leverage the technology. So the reason they were able to leverage the technology is because the logistics and the systems that they had in place allowed them to deliver directly to their customers' doorsteps. So they offered a hassle-free solution, delivering the high-quality razors to their customers' doorsteps at a fraction of the cost. And that's really important. And then to also tie into the technology side of things, witty marketing, their social media presence, their initial videos to gain traction completely blew them up and blew their competition out of the water. So customer-centric approach, affordable pricing, this is the convenience for the consumer that completely just propelled their growth. So their success story shows how a direct-to-consumer brand can disrupt a traditional model. You go into a store, you buy your razors. This is completely spun it on its head because now you have better convenience, more competitive pricing for the consumer, the end consumer. They dictate the marketplace. So if it's easier for them and it's cheaper for them, who are they going to choose? It made it a no-brainer, and ultimately, they got significant acquisition interest by the likes of Unilever, and this is sort of where we see a shift in disruption from traditional to digital. I have a whole video breaking down traditional to digital, but today we're here to more talk about the direct to consumer to B2B model. So market analysis, what does the bigger picture look like? The direct consumer model is projected to grow at nearly 20% compound annual growth rate over the next 5 years. So according to a report by Grandview Research, the global direct to consumer e-commerce market was valued at 111.5 billion in 2019 and was expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 19.2% from 2020 to 2027. So I just had to jump in real quick because I was recording this video pretty late at night and I was excited to get out to you guys. However, when I was going through it today, I realized some of the stats had got mixed up. Now, not sure about you guys, but when reading dense reports with big numbers late at night, this can happen. If you know, you know. I do apologize. However, I just wanted to take the time to go through and clarify things. So when I was talking about the 111 billion as of 2019/2020, that was actually just the US alone. So if we go in here and take a look, we can actually see that, you know, the D2C e-commerce sales here, this is just in the US. Now, how I actually got to some of these numbers, let me just go through and show you some of the sources I was going through. So from KPMG, we can see here the D2C market in the US is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of circa sort of 23%. So this is how I came to the conclusion that, you know, if we go back over here, this is how I got to the conclusion that we're currently around 150 billion, and with a 20% compound annual growth rate, it implies that within the next 5 years, we'll be at 370 billion plus. So that's great. And this is actually supported here with our most recent estimations in terms of, you know, eMarketer's forecast of the US direct to consumer market and sales reaching 150 billion. So this is where I sort of pulled this number from for our current rate. And then I matched it to KPMG's compound annual growth rate at around 20%. And that is how we got to this number here. Now, the bit where you're thinking, okay, that's in line. What about the whole global marketplace? Now, this is a whole different beast within itself. And it was actually Grand Review Research, and they stated in a report that the global e-commerce market size was valued at 9 trillion in 2019. And this was expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of around 14, let's just call it 15% from 2020 to 2027. So what does this mean? Where some of the data got conflated, it was the Grand View Research paper. However, they estimate that it's anticipated to reach 27 trillion by 2027. So again, these are super large numbers. Again, we're not looking to read the future, let's say, but I just wanted to use this to illustrate the direction that the market's going in, because we can use this as patterns. But I just wanted to show you guys actual reports that I was going through. It was extremely late at night, so please do forgive me. I've just gone in and amended this here, but you can see the numbers, check out. And if you want any of the links to these, just reach out and I can send it. But you know, you can see this here. This is from eMarketer, Insider Intelligence. This is from KPMG. This is also from Insider Intelligence by eMarketer. And then we've got some reports from Grand View Research. So yeah, you know, you can check it out. But I just wanted to jump in and make that clear for you guys. So let's just say, you know, if the direct to consumer market is roughly around 150 billion right now, a 20% increase in the compound annual growth rate implies that the market will grow to around 373 billion within 5 years. So this is just to represent the immense opportunity that we have at hand. And it's a case where, you know, do you want to be a part of it? Do you not want to be a part of it? When we're looking at the numbers and the trajectory of the growth, this is just, you know, facts. We can see that it's going to compound. This growth is not going anywhere. It's not slowing down. And with the shifts that we've already identified in terms of, you know, customer sentiment, technology in the marketplace, convenience, all of these things, is a mesh for the direct to consumer model to increase. Let's look at some of the successes and some of the failures. You know, in the direct to consumer landscape, we've got Warby Parker. They utilized the direct to consumer model, selling their high quality glasses, and it was at a fraction of the cost. Now, I spoke about how these guys have been a key proponent for technology in some other aspects, you know, in terms of their user-generated content and their strategies like that. They've been extremely clever and they really understand the play well. So they personalized the shopping experience with data and pioneered a home try-on program. So as of 2021, the company was valued at 3 billion. 3 billion direct to consumer, direct to their ideal customers. Just from understanding, the nuances in the landscape, it really shows the importance. I had to include Warby Parker. Glossier, they built their success, unique beauty philosophy, harness the power of social media marketing. They became $1 billion company, and their CEO, Emily, they started a beauty blog, Into the Gloss. They cultivated a loyal following before launching their first product, and their experiential store experiences, their physical stores designed Instagram-worthy experiences. So again, these are companies that understand that it's customer-centric. What's one way that we can get our customers to share it for free and actually enjoy the experience is to create something where they can share it, create a cultivated environment where the end consumer essentially wants to share what you're doing. This is only going to elevate your direct-to-consumer market because you can't leverage a bigger brand, a third party. You're not leveraging Amazon's infrastructure. You have to be smarter, and it's definitely strategic. However, the profits can pay off massively. So something all of these brands have in common, Glossier and Warby Parker, although they're in completely different industries, one's in eyewear and one's in beauty, you can see how they leveraged e-commerce and social, and they're definitely leveraging the technology. They're putting the customer first, they're leveraging technology. These two key points are going to be fundamental throughout how you understand how to implement a direct-to-consumer model. So not all brands have made this transition well. It's not to say that every brand that has the direct-to-consumer model is going to instantly thrive, but how can we learn from their mistakes? As much as we can learn from the winners, I like to also include references to brands that maybe didn't manage to pull it off, and it's going to be important to try and understand why. So what did this look like? You've got J. Crew here. Why did they transition? They struggled to define a consistent online brand identity and engage with customers digitally, contributed to their bankruptcy in 2020. How is it that companies can thrive in the pandemic era, where supply chains are taking hits, customer sentiment can potentially be down? How are some thriving, turning into multi-billion corporations, and others not? Clearly, it comes down to the online branding and identity and engaging with their customers. You put your customers first, you're discoverable, and you have awareness. So they were slow to adopt the e-commerce, relied heavily on brick and mortar stores for sales, and neglected customer engagement. So it's not a case where it's like you just go to direct to consumer and you immediately win. We're looking at companies that had direct to consumer, they had the prestige, they had the shop front stores, and they still went under. Why is that? Their ability to adapt and take on modern technology. Gap. They face similar challenges, struggling with their brand identity and over-reliance on their physical stores. You're not just going to go direct to consumer and instantly win. You have to understand the foundations below it. And again, we've kind of got the two components, which are being customer-centric and including technology. So to adjust, they found some success with Old Navy and Athleta brands. However, despite their efforts to turn things around, they're still grappling with their digital engagement at the moment. They try to bring in some creative direction with notable celebrities such as Kanye West to try and spin things around, because they understand that they need someone with a pull. They need someone with a digital presence that can bring awareness to their brand in an online landscape. It's inevitable. So as I mentioned, this is why strong foundations are crucial. But let's look at some of the numbers. I don't necessarily think it's direct to consumer versus B2B. I think it's a synergistic approach. I think it's a symbiosis. I think they can work together. And it's not about direct to consumer replacing B2B. If you're heavily B2B focused right now, maybe you're 80% B2B, maybe you're 90% B2B. It's just about how we can shift that. How can we actionably include and improve your direct to consumer model? So it's about the models augmenting each other and actually working in collaboration. So increasing your direct to consumer sales 10 to 20% could lead to a significant boost in profitability. What do I mean by that? Let's say your business, as I mentioned, is 80% business to business, 20% direct to consumer. How about we shift that from 30% direct to consumer or 40% direct to consumer and 60% B2B? It's not completely shutting down your B2B, but it's just getting that extra diversification in terms of how you're getting your product or service out into the marketplace. So let's look at some numbers. These are some numbers. Again, we work with established brands here. We like to work with brands that are doing significant 8 figures in this sort of realm. If you're not, you can use this as arbitrary numbers. You can use this as 10,000, whatever, but it's just to give you an idea of the framework. So let's say you currently have a company that generates 10 million in total sales. 80% is B2B with 25% gross margins, and 20% is direct to consumer with 60% gross margins. So the current B2B sales are 8 million with a gross profit margin of 2 million. The direct consumer sales are 2 million with a gross profit margin of 1.2 million. If the company were to shift completely their split to 100% B2B sales, which would still be 10 million in gross revenue, but the gross profit would be 2.5 million because of the lower profit margin of the B2B channel. However, if the company decided to add an additional 20% to the direct to consumer split, so let's say they made it 60% B2B, 40% direct to consumer, kind of the numbers I used earlier, the new gross profit would look as follows. So new B2B sales would be 6 million with gross profit of 1.5, and the direct to consumer sales would be 4 million with gross profit of 2.4 million. So as you can see earlier above here, when the business to business split was 80%, the gross profit margin was only 2 million. However, when we've now increased the direct to consumer sales to 40%, we've had a lift by 20%. So what you can see here is a 21.88% profit lift from a 20% shift in the split. Does this make sense? Can you see how important this is? And these margins are pretty accurate for some of the clients that we see, in terms of it being 25% when it's B2B and 50 to 60% gross margins when you're selling something directly to the consumer. Of course, you're going to shift your pricing for wholesale. It's going to be cheaper, which is lower margins. But I just find this fascinating that you can shift your direct to consumer split and potentially increase your profitability by 20%. So you're not only shifting that 20% of your split, you're shifting 20% profitability. How many of you guys could do with a 20% lift in profitability? These are serious numbers. And in terms of the implementation, it doesn't have to be too complicated. So I hope this just makes it round. I use 10 million as a round figure. As you can see, you've got the B2B splits, you've got the gross profit margins. It takes all this into account and you can see the lift. As in, the direct consumer sales here, 2.4 million, are more than 80% of the split with the gross profit of 2 million. Understand what I'm saying? 80% business to business, 2 million gross profit. 40% direct to consumer, 2.4 million gross profit. So you've seen a 20% increase in profitability with half of the amount of the share of the market. So this is what I'm saying, there's not one or the other. It's like, how can we make these work together? Okay, your B2B is established. How can we implement things so that your direct to consumer can match up to it? Because clearly the profitability is insane. It's two different leagues. And this is what I want to illustrate. Okay, you're doing well. You're making multi-seven figures with your B2B model. But can we double this? Can we add 20%? What's the cap? Can we shift things around? Can we increase the direct to consumer split by 10% and receive, an extra $500,000 in revenue? Would that be bad for your business? Would you be complaining about that? Now, this is all if you have the infrastructure in place and can contain this, but I just wanted to break down the maths because that's where it gets quite exciting. Essentially, you're all interested in profitability and money, but to just highlight here, 21% increase in profit from a 20% shift in the split. So this example shows that a relatively small shift in sales from B2B to direct to consumer can significantly affect the profitability of a company due to the higher margins typically associated with direct to consumer sales. Of course, you have factors in place such as the logistics, storing these units, etc. However, when you compare 60% profit margins to 25, even if you factor in the growth, COGS, etc., you're still going to be net in the green. So it just demonstrates the potential for direct to consumer to enhance profitability alongside B2B sales. Not replace, alongside. How can you just shift the split? How can we squeeze some of the numbers? Essentially benefit your business in a multitude of ways because the end consumer is going to be happy. They can maybe get at a competitive price and you're also going to be able to maximize the profitability. And this is what we like to help our clients do, is really getting them to think about this shift. And it's difficult, it's difficult. When you've got that steady stream coming in, you're getting multi 8 figures, 9 figures coming in through B2B means, why would you? But as we assessed earlier, it's about looking at the landscape as a whole. It's about looking at the trajectory of the marketplace and how this shift is going to increase as people become more customer centric, as well as the advancement of technology. How can you navigate the shift? How can you avoid the pitfalls such as Gap and J. Crew transitioning to direct consumer? It definitely doesn't happen overnight. It requires thorough transformation in a few key areas. So the key areas, I'm not going to go into depth with these now because I'm going to respect your time and just give you an overview of the foundations. Maybe in another video I'll go into depth of each one, but firstly, you want to invest in e-commerce capabilities. Online shopping is the heart of direct to consumer. Get familiar with Shopify, Magento. You pick the platform that works for you. The platform has to work with, of course, your product and the international requirements that come with selling that product and the way that you want to conduct your commerce. So you want to be able to capture certain payments, you want to be able to capture information. I, a lot of the time, do recommend Shopify. It's one of the best out there. It's one that we're familiar with here, but WooCommerce could work for you, or if you have a complex system in place, maybe Magento, etc. Next, you want to focus on building a strong brand that connects with the consumers. Again, it all comes down to being customer centric. You want to be present, you want to be able to capture the payments, and then you want to be consumer centric. So how are you utilizing social media, content marketing strategies to engage directly with your audience? Simple, basic things, but an online presence can help. So initially, your product needs to be there, available for someone to purchase, of course, and then you need to build awareness around it. So once you're there, you're going to need people to understand that you're there, and you need to sell your product. And then finally, you want to streamline your supply chain to directly deliver to customers. Now I know this is an oversimplification, however, it's just giving you the framework. With 3PLs being more prominent than ever, end-to-end logistics has never really been easier. So it's just about taking the time out to find the right one. I don't necessarily think it's easy to set up and implement international shipping for a product super quickly, but it's not impossible. So these few things, e-commerce capabilities, strong branding that connects with the customer, and then the ability to sort of deliver on the supply chain. Again, you've got 3PLs, you've got end-to-end sourcing logistics that can really help. There are some advantages of B2B. I don't want to completely discredit them. So it doesn't mean the B2B model is dead. We've got Chinese multinationals such as Alibaba. They connect suppliers with buyers worldwide. And this is a B2B marketplace that allows business to scale through access to global buyer base, and is thrived due to its ability to enable seamless, large-scale transactions. So businesses, especially in industries where scale and volume are crucial, B2B matters. We've got huge billion-dollar players. I don't want to discredit B2B. Again, this is something that works in harmony together. I don't think it's a case where you have to pick one or the other, and I always find it fair to include examples where B2B is definitely thriving. Amazon business, not a lot of people know this, it's not just a powerhouse in the B2C or direct to consumer. They've made successful strides in the B2B space worldwide. So they offer businesses specific features such as bulk pricing, pay by invoice, etc., spend management tools. This makes them a huge player. They understand the power of direct to consumer. They also understand the power of B2B. You've got Shopify Plus. Again, a lot of people know Shopify. We know Shopify for the business to consumer e-commerce model, but Shopify Plus allows businesses to actually conduct business to business transactions worldwide. Great. Again, you've got Fair. Some of you may know this if you're into interior design. I like my interiors. Online wholesale marketplace where retailers can discover and buy unique products from makers worldwide. So it allows them to have benefit terms such as net 60, free returns, more retailers, making the purchasing process simpler and less risky. What's one thing they all have in common? Anyone know? Comment down below. The one thing that all of these have in common, although the B2B is thriving, is they've adopted technology, so they've either adopted technology or they've got an online cloud infrastructure. These are some of the biggest players. I'm not saying B2B is dead, but they all have something in common. They're all online. They all understand where their consumer resides and they want to meet them halfway. So how can you bridge the gap? Okay, a lot of our consumers are in this space, so we're going to be in this space and we're going to take over this space and we're going to leverage technology, we're going to be customer centric, and we're going to win. So as much as business to business has a role to play, regardless, technology is included. And if you're going to include the technology, why not take a bigger piece of the pie and reach that consumer directly, rather than having to rely on a lot of these players? Because these players almost act as intermediaries in certain ways. So I think it's quite interesting. B2B, proven. It's going to be proven, but the model is still inevitably going to change as people change and the technology increases. So what's the future of it? It's only going to continue to evolve. As I mentioned, you've got emerging trends, you've got AI, you've got personalized customer experiences. This is only going to, increase the trend. And I think omni-channel strategies, when I say meeting your customer in a particular place, you need to be everywhere. Okay, one of your customers may be on LinkedIn. Some of your customers may be, strictly at conventions, but some of your customers are going to be on TikTok. How are you going to meet them? How are you going to meet them where they are? Reach consumers wherever they are. Omni-channel strategies. So emerging trends, you've got AI, machine learning, personalized customer experiences, but then also AI, machine learning, personalized customer experiences are going to be on all of these different intermediary platforms. TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Reels, this, that, email marketing. You need that omni-channel strategy. So examples of the brands that we discussed, they're not only making the pivot, but they're actually also continuing to innovate. So for example, you've got companies that aim for seamless shopping experience. Again, Warby Parker, initially online only, and they've successfully integrated physical retail. So I never like to say this is better than this. I like to just say, have you considered this? This is the landscape, these are the numbers, these are the key players that are operating in this space. They're making it work. How can we make it work for you? How can you make it work for you? That's what we've got to figure out. AI and machine learning. Brands are using it, predictive behavior, personalized interactions, customer insights. All of this stuff is leveraging data just at a speed that is faster than we can compute and understand. So using machine learning for personalized fashion recommendations for things such as Stitch Fix is only going to be on the rise. So let's conclude now, let's wrap it up. The growing direct-to-consumer model is clearly providing compelling opportunities for businesses, both new and established. Important to say established. The new ones that are coming in now, they understand that, okay, I can't outcompete the traditional companies because they're established in the marketplace. How can I garner or sort of impute unique selling points? They have to be faster, customer-centric, and online. So the newer brands, I think they understand this. The established brands, they have the freedom to kind of have their market share, but it's not to say they will go out of business. However, their market share is definitely going to shift to businesses that understand this or have a more balanced approach. So the key lies to being ready to adapt. How open are you to change? How willing are you to understand these concepts and understand that it's here to stay, the internet's not going anywhere. And again, with AI and machine learning, these things are only accelerating because it makes things more convenient for the consumer. The consumer's going to dictate the marketplace. If they can get a product directly shipped to their doorstep, or they have to, go to a particular wholesaler, what's going to be easier for them? This is why you've got companies like Uber Eats, Deliveroo that are just rocket speeding. People do enjoy going to restaurants, but people also do enjoy ordering food directly to their homes. So shift into the direct-to-consumer model. A few key steps: understand your customer and how to reach them directly. Simple. If you understand your business and you're serving a particular demographic, you're going to understand your customer well, so it should be easy. Developing and leveraging an e-commerce platform is about figuring out your product, your needs, and also the landscape that you're potentially shipping into in terms of logistics and delivery. So that will inform what e-commerce platform you'll use. And then is investing in digital marketing and branding, and not seeing it as something that some new age kids are doing, but just understanding that it's just going to be a part of your business. Again, it doesn't have to be absolutely all of your business. You may be smashing it with in-person, but it's something you're going to have to consider. Then setting up the systems to handle sort of shipping, returns, customer service. Again, 3PLs are making that easy. If you don't know what 3PLs are, that's third-party logistic companies. Look into it if you're not familiar with it. And if you are familiar with it, there may be one area here that you could improve on, So again, a lot of established companies, for them to have 3PL and maybe they're doing 20% direct to consumer split, 80% business to business, perhaps they could squeeze some of their digital marketing and branding, and that would bump the direct to consumer sales, and it will sort of shift the percentage in a way that's more profitable for them. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you find it valuable. I find this very interesting. I see it on a daily basis with traditional companies that are battling with going through this process. And I implore you to share your thoughts and comments below. I want this to be a continual dialogue. I want you to share your thoughts on the direct-to-consumer model, where you think is going, whether you're more in the B2B space. And if you are an established e-commerce brand and you're struggling with any of these foundational pillars, please feel free to reach out to myself and the team for a free consultation, and we'll see if we can, assess where you're at and give you some advice in the right direction. But remember to like, comment, subscribe. It really does help the channel. But more importantly, comment your thoughts and opinions. I'll be more than interested to hear. Until next time, let's keep innovating, keep growing, and keep it locked. Peace.